Hi there, and greetings from the town of Rishikesh in northern India on the Ganges River. Quite a spectacular scene there behind me. I'm about to go take a swim in this river pretty soon. So, the big question here, why is the world so fucked up? And I would just give a quick heads up here for anyone who is not familiar with my videos, that this is going to be a new agey type spiritual healing kind of an answer. So, if God is love, which I believe that God is, and if our own inherent nature of being is one of love and joy and bliss and kindness and excitement for being, and if being in our own inherent nature is what feels good to us, then why are things so fucked up on Earth? Why aren't we all just getting along? Why aren't we just having a great old time here, enjoying this spectacular planet, sharing the abundant resources, just partying it up, having a great time, everyone getting along like brothers and sisters and good friends? Why is there war and strife and crime and starvation and overwhelming greed and environmental degradation and the disappearing of the coral reefs and, you name it, go on and on about the various problems on Earth of momentous magnitude? Why is this the case? Why aren't we all just being in our inherent nature of love and light and kindness and just making the most of our lives on this planet and just all getting along? So the reasons are obviously complicated, but I will just offer my own personal understanding on this. It is a very simple, straightforward answer actually, but not one that is easily resolved, unfortunately. So the reason is that we are separated from our own inherent nature of being. And so there is a gap between who we truly are and who we are embodying, the being that we are embodying as we go about our lives. And obviously this is a great range. Some people are more connected to their basic nature of being loving and friendly and kind and creative and joyous and living their bliss and being happy and treating others with respect, etc., versus others. And so it is a broad spectrum. But the reason is because people are frozen in negative emotions. That is the reason. And I'm going to give a very potent example in a few minutes here. So as I understand it, then in our deep past as spirits, prior to this life, then God flew apart in separation. And this was a experience God decided to have, basically, in order to experience what separation was, in order to experience fragmentation of being versus oneness of being, which was God's original state of being. And so God wanted to experience something different from that state of oneness. And so God fragmented him/herself into a million billion different pieces, which went flying off into the cosmos. And so all of us are different spirits that came from this larger oneness of being. And this was not a fun experience. We'd been in a state of just being this one unified being, and then went flying off on our own, and this was a scary experience. And everyone had a different experience, and everyone dealt with their experiences differently, and so that's why everybody's different. And so there were some who processed and integrated their experience better than others, There were some who just, for whatever reasons, had a somewhat more positive experience in that regard, and so could be said to be sort of in better shape than others who maybe just had a more difficult experience with that separation. Just think of like kids at nursery school, and how some kids are going around having a fun time, like, wow, yay, this new experience, this new place, all these new kids, cool. And then there are other kids that are cowering in the corner, like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't like this place, this isn't home, where's my mommy, where's my daddy, where's my teddy bear, etc. Different people deal with situations differently. And so we all just have a energetic separation within ourselves based on how we processed and dealt with this initial separation from God. So the question is, why don't we just get back to our state of being loving? Like, why can't we figure that out? Why is there stuck on this millennia-long cycle of wars and greed and imbalance and suppression of women and all this bad stuff? The reason is because you don't move from a state of numbness of your feeling body to a state of love without going through the negative emotions that cause you to separate from yourself in the first place. So that's why. You don't just go from a state of being numbed out, frozen, in a state of denial and repression of your being to just being loving all of a sudden just because of a decision or whatever. We're being held down by the repression of feelings and emotions from the past that were never fully resolved and integrated with. There's the old scientific expression, energy is neither created nor destroyed, but only transforms. And our emotions and feelings, and at the root of all this is fear. Our fear is an energy of sorts, and if we felt a fear in the past, but we dealt with it by suppressing it, by separating from it, rather than allowing that energy to simply flow through our being and be released, then that energy gets stuck in our being, and we are then frozen in that fear. And there's no way around it. You don't resolve it, and you don't reconnect with your feeling part of yourself that had that initial feeling without going through the tunnel of that energy, of that feeling, of that emotion. And you can be completely and utterly separated from it. Think, I have no fear, I'm doing fine, I'm doing great. And we all have this, is suppressed, denied emotions from the past that are stuffed down into our subconscious to such an extent that we don't even know they're there. And then they are governing our actions without our realizing it. And so this is why somebody, say, in the war in the Ivory Coast or whatever in Africa, and they're going around chopping people's arms off and having a good old time chuckling and laughing about it, causing indescribable pain to people and not caring, is because they are so separated from their own feelings, their own feeling body, that they don't feel the pain of others, and so they don't care. They can chop somebody's arms off or whatever and see them writhing in pain and just think it's funny, because they are separated from their own feelings, their own denied fears and anger and sadness from the past that has become a unconscious part of their own psyche that drives their actions without their realizing it. And so I'm going to give another potent example here that will describe how this works. So the example is of the members of the military-industrial complex. Let's say the United States, but wherever. And what you have is basically a bunch of robots disguised as people. And I don't mean everybody in the army or all soldiers or anything like that, but especially the top people, and certainly some soldiers as well, and others in that mindset, that war mindset, where their focus, their purpose in life, their mission is identify the enemy and kill it. That is their mission in life. That is what makes their life worth living, is having that goal, that purpose. Whether or not there is an enemy actually attacking them. And so they create this reality over and over again of, if they don't have an enemy, they'll find one. No problem with that. We've been doing that in the United States for the past couple of decades. I mean, longer than that, but the whole war on terror and everything is create an enemy so that you have something to focus on and something to gather resources and gain money and power in this quest for your enemy. And they can't see out of that mind frame at all. Peace and love, and just kick back in a meadow and meditate and soak up the sunshine on a beautiful day. The idea of just enjoying the be here now, just enjoy this moment, is a waste of time, because there is an enemy out there somewhere who has to be tracked down and killed, and it's there, it's threatening us all, and so this mission is what gives their life a purpose. So what's the deal here? Why are these people locked into this mindset? So the enemy represents their own fear. The enemy that they are seeking is their own denied fear from the past, from this initial separation from God, which they have completely and utterly stuffed down into their subconscious to the extent that they don't feel it at all. They don't really feel anything. All they know is that there is this unpleasant thing out there somewhere that they have this vague impression of having experienced or stumbled upon in some way in the past. Something that sort of tried to get them, this scary feeling that they really, really did not like. And they are hell-bent on eradicating that fear so that it never bothers them again. That is their mission. Here's the problem. The one and only thing that will actually save them is that fear. And that's, pardon my rambling for I don't know how long here to get to this point, but that's the point of this video. Is that those denied fears and other negative emotions that we all want to avoid is precisely the doorway that we have to go through in order to save ourselves, in order to restart our feeling body. Because you have to go back through those initial feelings that cause you to separate from your feeling body, from your real feelings to begin with. And that's the whole point of this video. And this is more or less what Teal Swan was saying in her recent video, Spirituality 2.0, as I understand it, and then I did a reply to that video. Is that she's saying is that the way to resolve your negative feelings and emotions is to go into your negative feelings and emotions. And this, in my view, is absolutely true. That we really need to actually start digging down into layer upon layer of this denied stuff within ourselves. We've lifted out of our being, and so many spiritual paths have this focus of still focusing upwards and trying to focus on the positive and look upwards, and up is good and down is bad. And in my view, then we need to come down into ourselves more. We need to dive down into our subconsciousness and dredge up these fears and angers and sadness over the whole deal, and our negative belief systems and everything else that is driving our decisions and actions, and how we treat others and how we relate to the planet. Because until you change the consciousness of humanity, of individuals, humans on Earth, then you're not going to change the behavior, you're not going to change the actions. You can focus all you want on the outer circumstances, these symptoms, but until you get at that core crap that's really causing people to do what they do and be indifferent to others and to the planet and to animals, then nothing will really change, because it's an energetic phenomenon. It's a mental, emotional, psychic phenomenon of the energy we're transmitting as human beings, and the fears that we're avoiding that are causing us to do things like create wars just for something to do, just to have a purpose in life. Greed, because of an insatiable desire that is never fully fulfilled within yourself, because of this disconnect from the feeling body and from your own denied stuff. So until people come down and get more connected with their negative stuff, then the situation on Earth will never really change, and the world will continue to be to some extent, fucked up place. Not that it's all fucked up. There's a lot of good people, obviously, a lot of beauty in the world, but there could be a whole lot less suffering on the planet. In my view, it doesn't have to be at this magnitude of challenges and struggles and strife. So I hope that helps answer some questions. And I'm sweating away here. Time to jump in the Ganges River here. All right, take care. Namaste.